the director and head of the funds business of ATRAM and is responsible for marketing the company's fund products. He also leads the product development team that ensures the best and innovative products to its investors. He has over 20 years of experience in finance and asset management. He earned his degree in BSc Management in Financial Institution at De La Salle University. So friends, let us all welcome Mr. Andrew Cao.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. I'd like to share again to first thank our partners, Rampver, who is basically one of our valued partners and business partners, and again friends, in terms of inviting us over, inviting ATRAM over to be able to share something again in terms of learnings, in terms of again how we make our key investment decisions, and hope that with this topic actually, which is very called for in terms of these times of market situations, in terms of effective asset allocation, in terms of we will be able to at the end of the session we hope that we could impart more information and more more information in terms of how you can make those investment decisions, and especially now how information is very important, right? Definitely we would love to share this for this afternoon. And before I also start, I'd like to again hopefully greet everyone. I hope that everyone's doing safe, healthy at your homes. I see some of the group chat, some are all the way from Dubai has logged in, Italy. Hi, hello everyone. Nice to see you guys all here. How technology has changed how we do things, right? And we are now able to all meet together and impart more information and share some key learnings, right? And with that, let me first try to share my slide in terms of I hope that you can see it right now. When I was actually talking about the COVID and all of this quarantine, when I was actually during the last weekend, I was going through my regular runs. I hope that everyone's staying safe, right? In terms of reducing our risk by not going too much out and just concentrating on medical supplies or food supplies, grocery supplies. So when we go out, actually I was with my wife doing my own grocery run last weekend, and I went to a particular part of the grocery and I said, "Uy, pwedeng gamitin to sa toko this afternoon." And actually I know we all heard about this already in terms of the word and the saying, of course, in terms of investment, in terms of diversification, no, of reducing risk. Do not put all your eggs in one basket. Actually, I was in that section and I go, "Uy, pwede natin gamitin to for this particular to start it off, no, and talking about effective asset allocation, because the need for us to have an effective asset allocation is the reason really diversify our investments, to diversify our risk, no, and so that we can more or less manage the risk and the volatility of the markets. Well, there's also another saying that I always say of myself, friend, as well, is that again don't put all your eggs in one basket, but also we can't eat eggs all the time, right? In a sense of pag-breakfast, syempre number one, cholesterol natin, fats and heart ailments and all of that. So that's why we always have to have different type of investments or different types of options out there, right? Different options out there, and that's what's very important for us in terms of asset allocation. Okay, the question is, where do I put my investments, right? What are my options out there, right? For our regular investors like us, we have normally Philippine equities, di ba? We have Philippine fixed income, di ba? Or bank deposit, time deposit, and that's it, right? I want to share this particular slide, which I hope you can see it right now, is that this is what I call a heat map, right? A heat map, or if you could remember yung high school days natin, yung table of elements. Do you remember that? For each and every box or color represents basically an asset class. So nandiyan yung Philippine equities, nandiyan yung bonds, Nandiyan yung global assets, no? May gold pa nga dyan, no? So it goes back all the way from 2016 to year to date of this year. These numbers are as of August of this year, yung year to date 2020. But take a look. Take a look. So this is also per column, it's ranked in terms of the best performing. So the pinaka upper row is the best performing for that particular year. So when you take a look at it, anong masasabi natin? What can you say on first glance? You don't need to be really go through the detail. That's why it's color coded. Obviously, you can see that there's no single asset class that consistently is the top performer year in year out. It's impossible, right? The top performing last year could be the lagger of the previous of this year. As in, talagang no one really can really say that if I stay just in Philippine equities, pwede na ako for every year. No, that's not the case anymore, right? When in fact that everything, we're basically all of our investments are all affected globally, locally in global market scenarios. So take a look at 2019, the best performing asset class was US equities. Ano yung pinakakulelat or the lagger? Philippine equities, right? But take a look at year to date in terms of 2020, the best performing asset class is gold. So if you're invested in gold outside, you're actually doing well. But Philippine equities is down as well this year. So in terms of asset allocation, ang key here is that if you are actually invested in a little bit more than just one asset class per year, you're more or less be able to diversify your risk and be able to negate all these negativities in the market and still come up more or less on top in terms of your investments. So if you can have a chance to take a look at this snapshot or record this or take a screenshot, it's really very important for us to know that every year, iba-iba ang top performing. No one can really say that. No, take a look. Mamaya babalikan natin yung gold. Okay. So on the next slide is that actually, what if I tell everyone and share to you this afternoon is that you can now be invested in these markets. What unbelievable, right? Before, like I said, options natin, bank deposit, time deposits, or bank or equities, and then bonds. Ngayon, you have now you have more options with this new fund that they're offering, with Rampver is offering. It is called the ATRAM Unicapital Diversified Growth Fund. Ayan. Tignan nyo, because it is the first of its kind in the market, in the mutual fund market, because it is a multi-asset fund. Multi-asset. Hindi lang siya balance fund, kasi balance fund, dalawa lang yan. Pag multi-asset, marami yan. No? I'll show you later the composition, no, of the fund, and you'll be surprised. Na pwede pala yun, meron na palang ganun na fund, no? Now we have options, now we can invest in it. No? And now with this fund, no need to really worry about, okay, saan ba ako mag-i-invest given that heat map that I just saw earlier? With this fund, this actually will do the asset allocation for you. Globally pa, ha? So anyway, it has global capabilities. Like I said, it can invest in global equities and into global fixed income plus others, no? Later, I'll show you the others. So it's a growth story for you, no? And the best thing about it, Andrew, global yan. Does it mean dollar siya, dollar denominated? Hindi, peso siya, peso denominated. So imagine, a peso denominated global fund. That's it. So no need to worry about converting your peso to dollars to be able to invest. No, ito na yun. No, and that basically is the story behind it. So if you could take a look at the asset allocation of this particular fund, nandiyan yung regular fixed income mo, nandiyan yung regular Philippine equities mo, yung local fixed income, local equities, talagang nandiyan yan, syempre, to participate in the growth story of the Philippines. That's important, right? Then, naglagay tayo ng global fixed income dyan, naglagay tayo ng global equities rin dyan. Unbelievable. And now, we also have alternatives. Gold. And ano yung top performing fund, ang top performing asset class this year? Remember the heat map? It was gold, right? So if you take a look at the holdings, ayan, if you take a look at the currently the top holding as of end of September, it's a diversified mix. It's a diversified mix. Mayroon RTBs, which is mga bonds, local bonds. Meron dyan tech stocks, technically, nandyan din. Meron rin gold shares, which is the gold allocation, and others as well. May US treasuries pa nga dyan sa loob, no? So it's a really good mix of diversified global investments. Unbelievable. And now this is available and you can invest through Rampver Financials, right? And I'm sure tinatanong nyo, paano na yung ranking? How's the performance of that fund, Andrew? Ayan, ito. This is the numbers as of November 19. No? As of November 19, year to date, it is the top performing balance fund. Unfortunately, there's no classification of multi-asset pa in the market, so pasok pa rin siya sa balance fund. And it's the number one balance fund in the market today. Tingnan nyo yung year-to-date numbers, and across, syempre tinakman na natin yung may other names, but all you need to know is basically who's the top performing fund. And these are the funds that we have with Rampver Financials. It's the Unicap plus another fund, which is the balance fund of ATRAM. So obviously you can see it is performing how it should be, right? Diversifying, giving you so much options. And ano ba yung topic natin? It's really asset allocation. Where can I invest my investments outside, the local, the usual Philippine equities and Philippine fixed income. Okay, on the next option that we have are, of course, our equity funds. But I have a lot of questions. I get a lot of questions that sense. Andrew, is it the right time to enter? Given the markets, magulo pa rin, volatile pa rin. Is it the right time to enter? Okay, I'd like to share to you the ATRAM's official view of the markets in the next coming months. Ayan, importante yan, di ba? Kailangan malaman niyo ano yung official view ng ATRAM or the fund manager in terms of for the next 24 months, what will be the PSEI look like, right? Magandang tignan pag-usapan natin yan. And take a look at this slide I'd like to share in terms of the view of ATRAM is that currently the stock market is around over 7,000 in terms of the index, PSEI. Our view is that in the next coming months, on the back of couple of points, on the back of hopefully na magkaroon ng COVID vaccine na, no? And then back of further positive infrastructure spending by the government. There's the health concerns are all controlled. And of course, election rin as well. Election is coming up. Normally, statistically and historically, the year before the election and after the election, markets are always up. So pre-election boost is also for next year. That's something to consider of. And of course, positive in terms of global equities. With that, all of those factors in together, you can more or less we can round up around 30% upside on the markets. So if you take a look at the graph right now, that little box on the upper right is basically where we are now. So, all naman yung downside risk. With all of this happening, of course, health crisis, nagkaroon ng ulit ng malaking spike into COVID, long-term economic scarring continues. Yung downside that we can happen is only 17%. So 30% versus 17%, the upside versus the downside. Take a look. The story here is that, again, all of us here, di ba, is obviously long-term investors. So as long as you're invested long-term, you don't need to really worry. As long as kailangan pumasok pa lang tayo, really invested, we have spare money, continue to invest regularly. That's what's key. And as long as, at the end of the day, what's important when you invest in the equities markets, where do you actually invest? It's not really technically the Philippines, it's the corporate earnings. Earnings. So as long as we see that corporates are still earning positively, and that's gonna they will more or less rebound next year. Definitely, that's so much upside for us when it comes to investing in equities. So with that, one thing is that we have one fund, which is the Alpha Opportunity Fund. Maybe some of us are familiar already with this fund. This is one of our flagship funds in ATRAM. Again, this what makes this fund different. It is invested in your future blue chips. Ayan, yun yung mga future blue chips. Compared to the other equity markets, equity funds in the market today, normally ginagaya lang niya yung index. No, ginagaya lang niya yung index. Ito, ang laman nito ay puro yung mga future winners of the stock market, right? So what's very important, this is a growth strategy, long term. And what's nice about it is that as long as habang maaga pa lang, you are already invested in these future blue chips. And that's what's key and what makes this fund so special. And later we'll discuss that more in detail. No, these are just some of the top holdings of the fund that you can see. So obviously these are not your PSEI stock names, no, or your blue chip companies that you see. So ang laman nito are your future winners, no. But of course these are not your never heard of companies, right? So obviously if you see the names here, these are something that we have gone through, or we've met through, or we have in terms of as consumers gone through or have experienced, or we've seen these companies, right? Another fund that we like to share is that there's another investment option for us in terms of equities is of course our strategic growth, SOLDIVO Strategic Growth Fund. No, of course this fund, what makes it different, parang siyang ano siya eh, this is not your carbon copy rin as well. Unlike the other equity funds, like I said, puro index lang ang kinakopy niya, and that's basically it, right? For this one is a mixture of actually an alpha strategy, the one we have, plus of course growth, and plus, and so in terms of growth and so blue chip. So it's a mixture. It's like a multi-asset type of equity fund, no? So it has different style of strategies inside the portfolio. That's why it's doing very well in terms of market recovery. Later we'll talk about that more in detail. So again, this fund is not your common equity fund out there. It has a mix of alpha strategy, which is your future blue chips. Then of course it has growth strategies as well, growth stocks in terms of for our investments. And these are some of the names that you can see in the portfolio in terms of top holdings. Okay, so Andrew, I'm sure you will ask me that, ano naman yung performance ng fund? Okay, definitely 2020 has been a difficult year. 2020 has been a difficult year in terms of no one would have seen this coming. Okay, no one, I think globally, no one would have seen this coming in terms of what we have, what we're currently going through. But now, currently markets have more or less recovered. And take a look. Month-to-date numbers of our fund. Month-to-date, this is for the month of November, starting November 1 to November 19. It is the number one fund in the market today in terms of equity mutual funds, the Alpha Opportunity and the Strategic Growth. Imagine mo, for the month of November 1 to November 19, is just done around close to these returns already. So bumalik na siya in terms of it was able to really capitalize on the market recovery. Again, market recovery. So unlike the others, kasi medyo blue chips, laggard rin sila. So medyo, these are just the 10 funds in the market, no? Actually, tanong niyo sa akin, how many equity funds in the market today? There are over 40 equity funds in the market today. Unbelievable. And yet we're doing so well in the month, so far in the month of November. So in terms of recovery. Okay, so something that we should also look into when it comes to considering where I can invest in, no, in terms of Philippine equities. Okay, the next part is basically talking about fixed income funds or bond funds. Ayan. I want to pose a question, di ba? When we go back to the banks, time deposits, bank deposit, savings rate, anong nakukuha nating interest rate per annum? Less than 1%. Normally, 0.25, 0.75. Yan ang mga nakukuha natin gross pa yan, ha? In terms of returns in these types of investments or deposits that you don't really call them di pa nga investments, no? Time deposits and savings. These actually are less than 1%. Eh, anong inflation? How much is inflation? Over 2%. So, lugi ka pa in terms of return. You know, you're not even getting real return. Unbelievable. So, You, again, going back in terms of asset allocation, you should also continuously look for other investments. Remember again the heat map. Kung isang box lang ako naka-invest, hindi yan reliable. I need to look for other investment options. And that's what we're doing. We're trying to share these other investment options for us. And for fixed income, we have the SOLDIVO bond fund. Ayan. Again, the SOLDIVO bond fund is a intermediate bond fund. So ang laman nito ay mga around 1 to 3 years na fixed na government securities. May mga corporate bonds rin dyan sa loob. So ang kinaganda na itong bond fund na to compared to the others, it has a large chunk in corporate bonds, no, in terms of strategy. And if I had to share that it's currently doing around close to around 2%, 2 years in terms of duration. So napaka in terms of volatility, hindi siya ganyan ka risky or hindi siya ganyan ka invested long term, no, in terms of the bonds that it holds. As you can see there, corporate bonds is around 14%, government securities, which is of course the majority of the bulk, is around over 79%, no. But what I think I would like to share again this afternoon is it is the number one intermediate bond fund in the market today, both UITF and MF. Tignan nyo yung rate. Year to date, this is as of November 19, if you were to invest start of the year till November 19, 7%, 7.37% net of fees, net of taxes. Versus ano ulit kanina yung slide natin? Yun, less than 1%. Saka pa pupunta, saan mo pa ilalagay? And this is a fixed income fund. So ang laman yan is basically corporate bonds and government securities, corporate or government bonds. So it's pretty much stable and it's not that volatile. So definitely with a 7%, unbelievable in terms of return. And we're really proud of this fund na to in terms of its performance, no? Kasi kakaiba siya. Talo pa niya yung mga ibang mutual funds or UITFs na fixed income, even in the long-term category, no? So unbelievable. And of course, it is currently managed by an award-winning fund manager from ATRAM. Award-winning. His name is Miguel. They were actually recently mentioned with the Asian investor, in terms of being one of the most recognized fixed income team in the market in the Philippines. So talo niya yung other fixed income fund managers technically in the market today in the Philippines, and they were awarded recently as in terms of a very good fixed income fund house, no, under ATRAM, managing the SOLDIVO bond fund. So definitely you can rely in terms of that these guys are well known already or recognized regionally. Itong award na to hindi siya pang sa Philippines lang, it's a global and regional fund fund giving body, no? So definitely something you guys can rely on. And of course, as a fund house, ATRAM recently won with the Asian Investor the Fund House of the Year, Local Fund House of the Year, and of course the top investment house under the Asset. And one of the funds that Rampver also offers, the Total Return Dollar Bond Fund, was awarded the Best Managed Fund of the Year under Fixed Income category. So again, napakaraming tayong options when it comes to investing, no? When it comes to when we start investing and deciding where can I allocate my investments moving forward. Okay, and I think this is my last slide. And I'll probably turn the floor back to the host, Sila.